Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Have you ever felt that surge of anger that seems uncontrollable, like an internal fire that burns everything in its path? Whether after an argument, an injustice, or a simple annoyance, anger is an emotion that we have all felt at one time or another. But did you know that anger, if not managed well, can not only harm our relationships, but also our own well-being? In Islam, anger is often seen as a poison of the soul that can distance us from the serenity and inner peace that we all seek. Understanding and managing this emotion is therefore essential to living a more balanced life, consistent with our values. Before starting this video, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay informed of our next publications on the Islamic faith. Thank you and good video. Before we start, I wanted to tell you that there is something really special at the end of this video. I will share with you ideas and strategies for transforming your anger into a constructive force, helping you not only to understand it better, but also to never let it dominate you again. Listen carefully, because what you'll learn could radically change the way you view anger. So stay with me till the end to find out. If you have any questions or comments along the way, feel free to leave them down below. I love getting your feedback. Let's go. Anger is a natural and universal human emotion, an instinctive response to situations perceived as threatening or unfair. It can manifest itself as a feeling of irritation, frustration, or rage, and often it drives action. As a normal emotion, anger has an important role in our survival, alerting us when there is something that requires our attention or response. However, although anger is normal, it can become destructive if not properly controlled. When it gets out of our control, it can cause us to say or do things that we later regret, creating harm not only for others, but also for ourselves. Anger triggers can be many and varied, and they generally fall into two categories: internal and external. When we are subjected to prolonged stress, our tolerance threshold decreases, making it more likely that we react with anger to situations that would otherwise leave us indifferent. The feeling of not achieving our goals or facing constant obstacles can fuel latent anger. This frustration can be linked to our unrealized expectations, whether in our personal, professional, or spiritual life. Fatigue and exhaustion, physical or mental fatigue, reduces our ability to manage our emotions, making it more difficult to manage anger. External factors, conflicts, disagreements with others, whether at work, in the family, or in social relationships, are common causes of anger. When our values or interests are threatened, it is natural to feel a surge of anger. Injustice. Witnessing or experiencing injustice, big or small, can provoke an angry response. Whether it's betrayal, discrimination, or simply feeling misunderstood or disrespected, these experiences can trigger an intense emotional response. Provocation. Unconstructive criticism, insults, or personal attacks can also trigger an angry response. In some cases, these provocations are intentional, aimed at destabilizing us. Consequences of unmanaged anger. When anger is not managed adequately, it can have harmful consequences on many aspects of our lives: mental and physical health. Chronic anger, even when unexpressed, can seriously harm our health. It can cause stress, anxiety, and even depression. On a physical level, prolonged anger is linked to health problems such as high blood pressure, heart problems, and a weakened immune system. Additionally, angry outbursts can lead to physiological reactions, such as increased heart rate and blood pressure, which can be especially dangerous if they happen frequently. Relationships. On a relationship level, uncontrolled anger can be destructive. It can create tension, lead to prolonged conflicts, and even break down important relationships. Anger expressed aggressively can hurt others, leaving lasting emotional scars. On the other hand, repressed anger, although not expressed, can also be harmful, leading to resentments, bitterness, and ineffective communication. Spiritual well-being. In the Islamic perspective, excessive anger is seen as a test of faith. It can distance us from serenity and inner peace, essential elements for a healthy spiritual journey. Anger management is therefore not only a matter of mental and physical health, but also of spiritual well-being, in order to remain in alignment with Islamic teachings on patience, compassion, and self-control. In short, understanding the causes and consequences of anger is essential to learning how to manage it effectively, transforming this potentially destructive emotion into a constructive force in our daily lives. 2. The positive effects of anger. Anger as a signal, although often perceived in a negative way, anger can play a crucial role in our lives as a warning signal. It tells us that something is wrong, that our needs are not being met, or that an injustice is happening. For example, if you constantly feel angry in a relationship, this may be an indicator that your boundaries are not being respected or your expectations are not being met. Likewise, anger over an unfair situation such as discrimination or dishonesty can be a sign that our values are being violated. In these cases, anger can cause us to reevaluate our circumstances, step back, and identify what needs to change to restore balance. This function of anger as a signal is important because it pushes us to action. Rather than passively accepting what bothers us, anger gives us the energy to defend our rights, protect our interests, and correct situations that harm us. However, it is essential to channel this energy constructively rather than letting it turn into aggression or violence. Using anger as a driving force. Throughout history, many people have used their anger not only to express their discontent, but also to bring about positive and meaningful change. Their anger at injustice, inequality, or oppression has become a powerful engine for action and transformation. An emblematic figure of the civil rights movement in the United States, Malcolm X transformed his anger against racism and discrimination into a mobilizing force. His powerful speech and activism inspired thousands to fight for equal rights and human dignity, contributing to significant changes in American society. Nelson Mandela. Before becoming a global symbol of peace and reconciliation, Nelson Mandela was deeply angry with the apartheid system in South Africa. This anger led him to become involved in the fight for racial equality. Even after spending 27 years in prison, he was able to transform his anger into an unwavering desire to build a nation based on justice and reconciliation. Imam Hussein era. In the Islamic context, the story of Imam Hussein era is a powerful example of anger being used as a force for change. Faced with Yazid's injustice and tyranny, Imam Hussein era refused to remain silent. His anger against oppression drove him to stand up and sacrifice his life in the Battle of Karbala, becoming an everlasting symbol of resistance against injustice. These examples show that anger, when guided by moral principles and a strong sense of justice, can be a catalyst for positive change. Instead of letting this emotion consume us or drive us to destructive actions, we can choose to channel it into constructive actions that help improve our world. In conclusion, although anger is often viewed negatively, it has immense positive potential when recognized and used appropriately. By identifying anger as a signal of unmet need or injustice and transforming it into an engine for change, we can not only improve our own lives, but also contribute to the well-being of our community and society as a whole. One of the first steps to managing anger is to calm the mind and body. Breathing and meditation are simple but effective techniques to achieve this. When anger builds, our breathing often becomes rapid and shallow, which can intensify our emotional state. An effective technique is to practice deep breathing. Take a deep breath through your nose, slowly inflating your stomach. Hold your breath for a few seconds, then slowly exhale through your mouth. Repeat this process several times until you feel your heart rate slow and your mind calm. This method helps to decrease activation of the sympathetic nervous system responsible for the fight or flight response and activate the parasympathetic system, which promotes relaxation. Mindfulness meditation involves focusing on the present moment by observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. When you are angry, sit in a quiet place, close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Let your thoughts pass like clouds in the sky without clinging to them. This practice helps you take a step back from your anger, see it as a passing emotion, and prevent it from taking control of your actions. Cognitive reappraisal. Cognitive reappraisal involves changing the way we perceive a situation that triggers anger in order to modulate our emotional response. This technique is based on the idea that it is not the events themselves that cause anger, but rather our interpretation of those events. Change perspective. When you feel anger building, try to step back and see the situation from a different perspective. For example, if someone criticizes you, instead of immediately reacting with anger, try to understand why that person said that. Maybe she's going through a tough time or expressing personal insecurity. By changing your perspective, you can reduce the intensity of your anger and adopt a more empathetic attitude. Questioning automatic thoughts. Sometimes our automatic thoughts are irrational or exaggerated, which fuels our anger. For example, thinking, "It's always like this," or "He's trying to upset me on purpose," can amplify our negative emotions. By practicing cognitive reappraisal, you learn to question these thoughts and replace them with more balanced ideas, such as, "This is just a temporary situation," or "This person may not have realized the impact of their actions." Assertive communication. One of the keys to effectively managing anger is knowing how to express your feelings assertively, that is, with respect and clarity, without aggression or passivity. Express your needs clearly. When you feel angry, it is important to communicate your feelings and needs in a direct but respectful way. Use I statements to express how you feel without accusing the other person. For example, instead of saying, "You always make me angry," you could say, "I feel frustrated when you do this because it makes me feel like my efforts aren't recognized." This approach allows the problem to be discussed without the other person feeling attacked, which can avoid escalating the situation. Active listening. Assertive communication is not only about expressing your own feelings, but also about actively listening to the other person. When you listen, try to understand their points of view without interrupting or judging. Repeat what they said to make sure you understood, and ask clarifying questions if necessary. This attitude can diffuse anger on both sides and pave the way for a peaceful resolution of the conflict. Gratitude practice. Regular gratitude practice can help reduce feelings of anger by cultivating a positive and grateful attitude. Keep a gratitude journal. Make a habit of writing down 3 things each day that you are grateful for. These could be positive aspects of your life, pleasant moments in your day, or qualities you appreciate in others. Practicing gratitude helps us refocus our attention on what is going well in our lives, thereby reducing the tendency to focus only on the negative or irritating aspects. Focus on the positive in relationships, rather than focusing only on the negative aspects of other people, which can fuel anger. Try to notice and appreciate their positive qualities. For example, if a coworker irritated you, remember a time when they helped or encouraged you. This shift in focus can decrease negative feelings and improve your relationships. By combining these breathing and meditation techniques, cognitive reappraisal, assertive communication, and gratitude practices, you can not only manage your anger more effectively, but also transform this emotion into a constructive force that contributes to your well-being and that of others. Anger management isn't an instant process, but with practice and patience, you can develop habits that will keep you calm, centered, and in control, even in the most trying situations. 4 testimonials and examples inspiring stories. Anger, when managed constructively, can become a powerful force for change. Many ordinary people have managed to turn their anger into positive action, often with a lasting impact on their lives and their communities. Aicha's story. Aicha was a young woman who felt deep anger towards the social injustices in her neighborhood. Rather than letting this anger consume her, she decided to channel this energy into community action. She created a support group for women victims of violence, providing a safe space to share experiences and find solutions. Through her commitment, Aicha not only found a way to relieve her anger, but she also helped other women regain their dignity and autonomy. Karim's journey. Karim, after losing a loved one to unjustified violence, felt intense anger that could have led him on a path of revenge. However, he chose a different path. He founded an organization to educate young people about the dangers of violence and promote peaceful conflict resolution. Today, his organization is recognized for saving many lives and for its role in promoting peace in its community. Karim thus transformed his pain and anger into a legacy of peace and reconciliation, celebrities or historical figures. Some personalities have managed their anger in an exemplary manner by transforming this emotion into a driving force for positive actions that have left their mark on history. Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison during the apartheid regime in South Africa, Nelson Mandela could have walked out with a heart full of hatred and anger. However, instead of seeking revenge, he chose reconciliation and peace. Mandela understood that anger, if uncontrolled, can destroy. And he used his own experience of injustice to build a rainbow nation, advocating unity and forgiveness. His ability to manage anger constructively not only transformed South Africa, but also inspired the world. Mahatma Gandhi is another example of a historical figure who was able to transform anger into a positive force. Deeply angry at the injustice of British colonialism in India, he might have called for violence. Instead, he chose nonviolence and civil disobedience as his means of struggle. His philosophy of nonviolence, known as Satyagraha, not only led to India's independence, but also influenced many civil rights movements across the world. Gandhi proved that even the most legitimate anger can be transformed into an instrument of peace and justice. Malcolm X, initially known for his fiery rhetoric and his anger against the injustices suffered by African Americans, Malcolm, after his pilgrimage to Mecca, he took a more inclusive and peaceful approach in his fight for civil rights. Her experience shows how anger, when reflected and transmuted through experience and spirituality, can lead to a broader vision of social justice, inspiring entire generations to fight for equal rights. Her stories show that anger, although often seen as a negative emotion, can be a source of transformation and progress when channeled constructively. Whether through community actions, peace movements, or civil rights struggles, these individuals have proven that anger can become a driving force for lasting, positive change. Their ability to manage their anger and use it productively continues to inspire millions of people around the world. 5. The importance of forgiveness. Forgiving to free yourself. Forgiveness is often seen as an act of kindness towards others, but in reality, it is above all a gift that we give to ourselves. Indeed, when we refuse to forgive, we remain trapped in our anger, our resentment, and our pain. This resentment can take a toll on our mental and physical well-being, causing stress, anxiety, and even chronic health problems. By forgiving, we free our minds from this emotional burden, allowing us to find inner peace. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or minimizing the wrong done to us, but rather choosing to no longer let that event control our thoughts and emotions. It is a conscious decision to free oneself from suffering, to make peace with the past, and to focus on the present and the future. By forgiving, we transform anger into compassion, hatred into understanding, and open the way to healing and serenity. Forgiveness technique. Forgiveness, although beneficial, is not always easy to grant. Here are some strategies that can help you learn to forgive both others and yourself. Step back. When a wound is still fresh, it's normal to feel anger and resentment. It can be helpful to take some time to calm down and think about the situation more objectively. Try to see things from another perspective by putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Understanding the motivations and circumstances that led to the offense can help alleviate negative feelings and open the door to forgiveness. Accept your emotions. Forgiving does not mean denying or repressing your feelings. It is important to recognize and accept your emotions, whether they are anger, sadness, or frustration. By accepting them, you can let them express themselves in a healthy way, without letting them take control of your life. Once you fully feel and understand your emotions, it becomes easier to release them. Write a letter. A powerful technique for forgiving is to write a letter to the person who hurt you, even if you never send it. In this letter, express your feelings, what you felt, and how it affected you. Then, end the letter by expressing your desire to forgive and move on. This symbolic act can be very liberating and mark the beginning of the healing process. Practice self-compassion. Forgiveness is not just about others. It is also crucial to learn to forgive yourself. We all make mistakes, and it's easy to blame and criticize ourselves harshly. By practicing self-compassion, you can learn to be more forgiving of yourself. Recognize that you are human and imperfect, and offer yourself the forgiveness you deserve. Focusing on the benefits of forgiveness. Finally, remember the benefits of forgiveness for your own well-being. By releasing anger and resentment, you reduce stress, improve your mental health, and pave the way for more harmonious relationships. Focusing on these positives can motivate you to make the effort to forgive, even when it seems difficult. Ultimately, forgiveness is an act of courage and wisdom. It is not a question of excusing the evil that has been done, but of choosing to no longer be its slave. By forgiving, you regain control of your emotional life, free yourself from the chains of anger, and create space for peace, love, and personal growth. Conclusion. In this video, we explored the importance of understanding and managing anger, a powerful emotion that, if left unchecked, can cause significant damage to our well-being and relationships. We began by recognizing anger as a normal and legitimate emotion. but also as a signal that can indicate unmet needs or injustices. Next, we saw how anger can be used constructively, transforming it into an engine for positive action and meaningful change. We then shared several effective techniques for managing anger, breathing and meditation to soothe the mind and find calm in tense situations, cognitive reassessment to change perspective and reduce the intensity of anger by questioning our automatic thoughts, assertive communication to express our feelings respectfully and clearly without resorting to aggression. Gratitude practice to cultivate a positive attitude that can prevent the buildup of anger. We also discussed the transformative power of forgiveness, an essential step in freeing ourselves from anger and moving toward inner peace. It's normal to feel anger, but it is possible to harness it and turn it into a positive force in your life. By applying these techniques and adopting an attitude of forgiveness, you can not only improve your personal well-being, but also help create more harmonious relationships and a more peaceful environment around you. The path to managing anger is not always easy, and it requires patience and perseverance. But remember that every little effort you make to quiet your mind and forgive is a victory in itself. You deserve to live a life free from the chains of anger, a life where you can focus on what is truly important, your inner peace and your relationships with others. I encourage you to put these tips into practice in your daily life. Feel free to share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you ever managed to turn your anger into something positive? Or maybe you have questions about the techniques we covered. I would love to read your stories and answer your questions. Together we can learn to master this emotion and live a more peaceful and fulfilling life.